The diner was quiet for a Wednesday afternoon, the kind of quiet that made the flicker of the neon open sign buzz a little louder than usual. Claire wiped down the counter for the third time, glancing out the window at the rain gathering in oily puddles on the sidewalk. She didn't expect anyone special today, just the usual regulars with their usual orders and usual tips. So when the bell above the door jingled and he walked in, she froze. Not because he was famous, not at first. The man looked tired, a little older than in the movies, with a soft baseball cap pulled low and sunglasses even though it was raining. He kept his head down, sliding into the corner booth like someone hiding from something or someone. Claire walked over, not thinking too much about it. She had dealt with all kinds of people over her 3 years at Daisy's Diner in upstate New York. Tourists, drifters, minor celebrities on road trips. She figured this guy might be someone trying not to be noticed. "Coffee?" she asked, pulling out her pad. "Sure," he said, his voice a little hoarse but familiar in a way that made something stir in her. When she brought over the coffee, his sunglasses were off. That's when it hit her, Bruce Willis. He gave her a small smile. "Thanks." She nodded and walked back to the counter, her heart thudding. Bruce Willis. Here, alone, in her diner. There was something about him, though, something hollow behind his eyes, like he wasn't just passing through. Like he was waiting for something he didn't even believe would come. He stayed quiet, drinking his coffee slowly, occasionally staring out the window as if watching memories instead of cars. When he went to pay, he pulled out a beat-up leather wallet. Claire glanced at it while punching in the order, and then she saw it. A photo slipped slightly out of one of the pockets. The colors were faded, the edges soft from years of wear. But she would have known that face anywhere. Her mother. Her mother, at age 20, laughing in a white tank top, standing barefoot on a wooden dock. It was a photo Claire had seen once, long ago, in a family album she barely remembered. Her mother had died when Claire was 8. Cancer. The memory of her voice was faint, like a dream she'd tried to hold on to and lost anyway. Claire's breath hitched. She looked up at him. Bruce had noticed her staring. He hesitated, his hand pausing just above the billfold. "That photo," she whispered. "Where did you get that photo?" He looked down, then up at her again. The sadness in his eyes deepened, as if something heavy had finally caught up with him. "You knew her?" she asked, her voice breaking. That's my mom." He didn't answer right away. His jaw tightened. "I'm sorry," he said finally, his voice raw. "I didn't think I'd run into you like this." Claire's knees almost buckled. "Run into you?" Her voice barely made it out. "Who are you to her?" He looked away for a long time, then back at her, and what he said next cracked something wide open in her chest. "She was the love of my life." If this story is hitting your heart the way it just hit Claire's, don't miss what happens next. Subscribe and leave a comment. Was it fate or something more? Claire stared at him like he'd just spoken in a language she didn't understand. "The love of your life?" she echoed, blinking fast, like maybe the tears forming in her eyes were distorting what she'd heard. Bruce nodded once, slowly. Her name was Elise. Elise Palmer. Claire couldn't believe what she was hearing. That name, her mother's name, sounded foreign and sacred on his lips. "You knew her," Claire said, more to herself than to him. "I met her in 1989, he said softly, eyes drifting back to the photo as he pulled it gently from his wallet and set it on the counter. "On a movie set. Not mine. She was working as a wardrobe assistant. Brightest damn smile I've ever seen." Claire swallowed hard. She tried to remember the little things her aunt had told her over the years, about her mother's early 20s, about New York, and how she'd moved back upstate after something happened. Nobody ever said what. "She never mentioned you," Claire said, though it felt almost cruel to say it. Bruce looked down, his lips pressing into a tight line. "I'm not surprised. It ended hard. And not because we stopped loving each other." Claire leaned on the counter, trying to steady her breath. "Then why?" Bruce stared into his coffee like it held the past. "Because I wasn't brave enough. I chose my career. I walked away when she needed me to stay. I thought I could go back later, fix it." But by the time I realized what I lost, she was gone. Claire wanted to scream, to cry, to ask 1,000 questions, but she just sat there, numb, stunned by the fact that a stranger, Bruce Willis, was speaking about her mother with reverence and regret, like someone who had memorized every inch of her face. "I only found out about you 5 years ago," he added. Claire looked up sharply. "What?" Bruce nodded slowly. "I found a letter she wrote but never sent. It was tucked inside an old script she gave me long before things fell apart. I hadn't opened it in decades. In it, she told me she was pregnant." Claire gripped the edge of the counter. "You're saying you're my—" "No," he cut in gently. "Not your father." She made it clear in the letter. She'd already met someone else by then. She was trying to do the right thing, move forward with her life, but she wanted me to know. She wanted me to know you existed. Claire's breath left her in a rush she hadn't expected. She didn't even realize how tightly her shoulders had tensed until they slumped forward. "I've been carrying that photo ever since," he said, "not because I had a right to, but because it was the only piece of her I had left." Silence stretched between them, heavy but not cold. Claire finally reached out and touched the photo. Her fingers trembled. "She looks happy in this," she said. "She was," Bruce said. "For a little while." The rain outside had slowed to a mist. In the booth behind Bruce, an old couple laughed over pie. Life had gone on, even as Claire stood at the epicenter of a story that had been hiding in the shadows of her past. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this," she said quietly. "Maybe nothing," he replied. "Or maybe you just let yourself ask the questions you were never given the chance to ask." She looked up at him, and for the first time she didn't see Bruce Willis, the actor. She saw a man who had once loved her mother and had never quite recovered. The next morning, Claire couldn't focus. The clink of dishes, the chatter of customers, even the hiss of the espresso machine, it all faded into a hum behind the whirlwind in her head. Bruce had left quietly the night before. No fanfare, no autograph requests, no crowd forming around him. Just a quiet "take care, Claire," and a promise to return the next day if she was willing to talk. She didn't sleep, she couldn't. She kept seeing that photo of her mother, Elise, looking so alive, laughing, glowing in the late afternoon light of a memory Claire never knew existed. She thought about the man who had loved her and walked away. She thought about the letter. At exactly 10:03 a.m. he came back. Same hat, same guarded eyes, but this time he looked her straight in the face. "Can I sit?" he asked. Claire nodded and led him to a table near the back, away from the windows. He pulled something from his jacket pocket, a thin, folded piece of yellowed paper. "I brought it," he said. "You should read it." She took it gently, the edges so fragile it felt like it might fall apart in her hands. She opened it slowly. "Dear Bruce, I'm writing this knowing you'll probably never see it. Maybe I just need to say it out loud, even if only on paper. I'm pregnant, it's not yours, I want to be clear about that. But I still felt like you deserved to know. Maybe because loving you was real, even when everything around it wasn't. Maybe because part of me is still waiting for you to turn around, even though I've already decided to walk away. I want something normal, a quiet life, a family that isn't always in motion. I hope one day when you're not chasing the next thing, you'll remember me and smile, and maybe, just maybe, understand. Her name is Claire. She's going to be everything I couldn't be brave enough to become." Elise Claire stared at the letter, the weight of it pressing into her chest. Bruce didn't speak. He let her absorb it in her own time. "She never told me," Claire whispered. "I never knew she wrote this, never knew she still thought about you." "She didn't have to," he said. "She lived it. That's what I realized when I read this. She was trying to choose something better for herself and for you." Claire folded the letter and held it against her chest, like it might keep her mother closer for just a little longer. "I used to wonder," she said, "why she seemed sad sometimes, like she was holding a secret no one else could carry." Bruce nodded. "So was I." She looked at him, really looked. The man across from her wasn't some tragic hero from a film. He was just a man who had made choices and lived long enough to regret the ones that mattered most. "I don't know why you came here," she said. "I didn't either," he replied. "I was driving. I saw the sign for the diner. It wasn't planned." But maybe it was time. Claire ran her fingers over the old paper again. "You're not asking for anything, are you?" "No," he said, shaking his head. "I just wanted you to know the truth. You deserved that." A silence stretched between them, not empty, but full. Then Claire spoke, her voice firmer now. "She would have wanted you to know I turned out okay." Bruce smiled, and for the first time it reached his eyes. "I can see that," he said. 2 days later, Claire called in sick to the diner. She never did that. But this wasn't a normal day. She and Bruce sat in his rental car, driving north along winding back roads, past sleepy towns and fields just starting to bloom with early spring. The silence between them was comfortable now, softened by the weight of what had already been shared. "I haven't been here in over 20 years, he said, eyes on the road. "Didn't even know if it still stood." "What is it?" Claire asked, watching the landscape blur past. "A house," he said. "Technically a cabin, on Seneca Lake. We used to go there, her and me, when we wanted to disappear." Claire didn't know what she was expecting, a dramatic reveal, a hidden truth, but this felt quieter, more sacred. The lake appeared slowly, stretching wide and calm under a cloudy sky. The driveway to the house was overgrown, and the wood was weathered, the white paint chipping, but it was still there, still standing. Bruce parked and got out. Claire followed. They didn't say much. They walked through the old front door, creaking under its own history. The inside smelled of dust and time. Cobwebs clung to the corners. A photo frame still hung by the stairs, empty now, its glass cracked. "I thought it would have been sold," Claire said. "It was hers," Bruce said softly. "Bought it with her own money after her mom passed. Said she wanted a place to call her own. She never mentioned it." Claire shook her head. "I didn't even know this existed." He walked into the living room and stood by the old fireplace. "This is where she told me she wanted something different, a life away from Hollywood, from chaos." Claire ran her hand over a worn armchair, imagining her mother curled up with a book here, laughing, dreaming. "She wrote in a journal," Bruce said suddenly. "She always wrote here. Said it helped her figure out what she really felt." Claire turned to him, heart quickening. "Do you think it's still here?" They both searched the house, lifting dust-covered boxes and peeling back old blankets. Claire opened a drawer in the small bedroom closet and froze. It was there. A faded leather-bound journal, its spine cracked, initials etched faintly on the front. EP. Her hands shook as she opened it. March 3rd, 1990. "Bruce left yesterday. He said he loved me, but he couldn't stay. I told him I understood. I didn't. But I told him I did. I think I already knew I was pregnant." Claire flipped through pages filled with sketches, flowers pressed between entries, and pieces of a woman she had never fully known. "I want to read all of it," Claire whispered. "Every word." Bruce nodded. "It's yours." They sat on the back porch, overlooking the still water. She read out loud. The birds chirped softly. Somewhere in the distance, wind rustled the trees. There was an entry about Claire as a baby. "She smiles in her sleep. I think she knows something I don't yet, that this pain will one day be worth it." Claire wiped a tear from her cheek. "She loved you," Bruce said, "more than anything." Claire closed the journal and looked out at the lake. "She never got to bring me here," she said. "She's here now," Bruce said. And somehow Claire believed him. It had been a week since they'd found the journal. Claire kept it on her nightstand, next to a small photo of her mom that she'd taken from the album in the attic. But now she had another copy, that photo, the one from Bruce's wallet. He insisted she keep it. Bruce stayed in town longer than he'd planned. He didn't say why. He didn't need to. They fell into an easy rhythm, coffee in the mornings, long walks through the nearby park, conversations that wandered in and out of the past. There were no expectations, just space for grief, for memories, for something gentle to grow. On Friday afternoon, He picked her up after her shift. "I have one more thing to show you," he said, as they drove toward the edge of town. Claire raised an eyebrow. "Another cabin in the woods?" "Not this time," he smiled. "You'll see." He pulled into a small cemetery. The clouds had cleared, and sunlight spilled through the trees in gold ribbons. He led her to a modest gravestone nestled beneath a blooming dogwood tree. Elise Palmer, 1969-2001, loved fiercely, remembered always. Claire knelt, brushing away leaves that had gathered at the base. Her breath caught. "I didn't know this was here," she whispered. "She's been here since the beginning," Bruce said. "Your father, your real father, chose the spot. I came once, years ago. Couldn't bring myself to stay." Claire felt the ache settle deep in her chest. "I didn't even know where she was buried," she said quietly. "She deserved to be visited," Bruce said. "Even if it took me this long to do it properly." Claire laid a hand on the cool stone. She thought of everything she'd learned in the last 7 days, about her mother, about love, about the kind of silence that gets passed down like heirlooms. "Do you regret it?" she asked, still looking down. "Walking away from her?" He didn't answer right away. "Every day," he said. Claire stood and turned to him. "But she wouldn't want you to carry that forever. She forgave you, I think, in the way she lived afterward." Bruce's eyes glistened. "You really are hers." They sat beneath the tree for a long time, letting the breeze move through the branches, letting the world slow down just enough to hear the echoes of a woman they both loved in different ways. As they stood to leave, Claire reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a folded note. "I wrote this for her," she said. "Can you give me a second?" He nodded and stepped back. Claire knelt again and placed the letter at the base of the headstone. "I met someone who knew you, Mum," she whispered. "He remembered you in ways I never got to, and now maybe I can remember you more fully too. Not just as a photo or a bedtime story, but as someone who made hard choices and still loved with everything she had." She stood, took one last look, and walked back toward Bruce. "You okay?" he asked. Claire nodded. "Yeah, I think I am." They walked together toward the car, the light soft and golden around them. "I don't know what this makes us," Claire said as they drove back toward town. "Not family exactly." "No," Bruce said, "but something real, something that matters." And maybe, Claire thought, that was enough. If this story touched you, don't leave without subscribing. And click the video on your screen now. It was chosen just for you, and you're going to love where it takes you next.